Good evening, everybody. I have the esteemed privilege of speaking right after your stomachs are full, so I'll do my best. Do the clap. My kid's doing that in kindergarten, so. So I am Chris Cavanaugh, and I am the program manager here in Grand Rapids for refugee resettlement. Firstly, I would like to personally thank all of the refugees that are actually here in the crowd with us. We are in the midst of a record number of arrivals to Grand Rapids this month in July, and I've worked here for 13 years, so saying a lot of folks coming in. We actually, some of the refugees that are here tonight actually arrived this morning, and so a special welcome to those special guests. So we're glad you're here. And so while the story of each refugee and their experience might be different from each other, one thing that's constant is that when they arrive, they all have their own hopes and their own dreams. And they rely on us as an agency to help them fulfill those dreams and provide that hope. We have some basic guidelines that we follow that I'd like to speak a little bit about how we actually help the refugees when they get here. So the very first thing we need to do, and it's a daunting task, is to find housing that's affordable and safe and decent for all of the refugees. We are given an empty house or apartment, and then we have to fill it. So we rely on strong relationships with landlords to find those houses, and strong relationships with donors, such as many of you who have provided us many things for our refugee families when they come. Upon getting their housing ready, we head to the airport. At the airport, when the refugees are walking down it's not the tarmac, I forget what it's called. Anyways, the hallway to the airport reception, that's where we are, waiting to greet them as really their first contact in the United States. So we were there last night. We had a bunch of flight changes, and we had to go back this morning, and some of the folks here were greeted early this morning after quite the adventure in their travel. So that's the day in the life kind of a case manager in my program. So upon getting them at the airport, we get them to the housing that we've furnished and we've arranged it. And we have to go through a very thorough orientation to that home. Many of the refugees that we're working with have not had a lot of access or exposure to Western amenities. Some have, but many have not. They've been in camp settings for quite a long time. And so teaching them how to run a dishwasher, you can't put regular dish soap in that thing or your floor is going to be covered. After you cook with a pot, you cannot put it on the floor like you did when you were in the camp because the linoleum will come up with it. And that nice landlord that gave us the apartment doesn't like us anymore. So a lot of these really basic things that we are teaching the refugees to live safely in their home. So broader than that, orientation to the community. Who are their neighbors? How do you call 911? When should I go to the emergency room? When should I get a Band-Aid? Things like that takes a lot of orientation for the refugees to really understand their surroundings. Other than that, we provide financial assistance. So someone needs to pay their bills for a few months while they're getting on their feet. So rent and utilities, give them a little bit of pocket money. And all this starts happening that first day when they arrive. Clothing is really important. As you can imagine, many of our refugees coming from Africa, for example, or climates that are warm, and welcome to Michigan in January. So early apologies to those that are here and haven't been through a Michigan winter yet. We'll take care of you. So seasonal appropriate clothing is important. And then we start to develop the plan with the family, like what's going to be good for you in terms of looking for a job. Do you need to learn English? If so, we get them connected to ESL classes, English as a second language. We have an employment program that the main goal is to get them to be economically self-sufficient within 6 months after they arrive. If you think about it, it's a very short amount of time. But in doing so, it's part of the refugees understanding how to be self-sufficient And really that's kind of the American way. We work with the local medical community. We do a lot of outreach with the medical community for primary care. Mark spoke earlier how confusing the healthcare system can be for us. Imagine what it must be like for a refugee. So that liaison is really, really crucial in getting them connected to a medical home. And so they say in this line of work to do everything that I just talked about, that it takes a community or it takes a village to resettle a refugee. 13 years working here, I couldn't agree more than that. We need churches, we need you, we need volunteers, and partnership really in every area of community resource to really help a refugee integrate well. So my hope is that today you will share a part of your life with a refugee, meet them, engage with them, teach them, learn from them, and it will yield blessings that will go both ways for you. So thank you for being here tonight.